Hey everybody, welcome to the world's okayest mountain bike podcast. I guess we could call this a special edition because Kyle and Ryan are not with us, but I've snagged Big Mountain Enduro's Dave Elkan, and I guess we're going to do a little bit of a season preview, for sure a Shepherd Mountain BME preview, but we could ask some more. I'm going to ask you some more general questions as well, Dave, coming up since, you're our inside man. Big Mountain Enduro.
Appreciate that, Clinton. Yeah, we have really excited for Shepherd Mountain and the kickoff to the 2022 BME season. I noticed we have a lot of folks from the Midwest who are attending Shepherd Mountain. They're coming to many, if not all, of the remaining BMEs after Shepherd Mountain. So it'll be neat to see such a great national mix.
Shepherd Mountain has an official Shepherd Mountain Enduro team that's going to all the races.
Yep, and there's additional, actually quite a few additional folks from Arkansas, Missouri. I've seen Tennessee, North Carolina. Yeah.
Man, that's a commitment out of those folks, which I'm glad to see that Enduro has that kind of commitment at the amateur level. It reminds me a bit of how amateur motocross was when I was growing up. I mean, we traveled all over. I know we went as far as Florida for races. So,
well, and it's also it's a vacation. It's a chance to be competitive and race, but it's also a chance to see trails that and as you know, we've talked about this before, what we consider BME Enduro worthy courses. They aren't everywhere, and you get a chance to go see those in other locations across the country, and that is pretty neat experience. It's almost like storm chasing, like we used to do skiing. You're going enduro chasing, trying to find the coolest trails across the country that fit the type of riding that we all like to do.
Yeah, so kind of like chasing powder. Yeah, I get it.
Exactly, chasing gnar. Yep.
So, speaking of courses, so last year, and this was so close to my heart, I was reading every comment on every platform, Instagram, YouTube, wherever, Pink Bike. And when Ironton Shepherd Mountain was announced last year for the Big Mountain Enduro, we were catching a little bit of flack in the comments. There were some non-believers out there that Missouri was a place that is worth going to at all. I don't know about you. Maybe you can enlighten me. Maybe I'm missing something. But after the race last year and during the race, I was not catching any of that. Once people got there and experienced it, it seemed like the naysayers kind of changed their mind a little bit.
I think I saw a little bit more of a balanced response, to be honest. I think maybe here in the Midwest and parts and the East Coast, maybe there was some skepticism because a lot of people didn't quite understand Big Mountain Enduro, to be honest. I think our friends out west who have been attending our events for many years know that we do not put Big Mountain Enduro on unless it's worthy. And I think the brand and the trust in the brand helped mitigate some of those comments, because I did see stuff where it was like, I think we need to give BME the benefit of the doubt here, and that was very positive, and I remember seeing those comments. But yeah, I do remember the flip side of that. What, Missouri? And
I'm just I haven't seen any Missouri
you and Alex and everybody just outdid yourselves. The courses were amazing, and this coming year we have some more surprises.
Yeah, bigger and better. Gonna be 2 pretty big days. Going from I've totaled to 9. It's pretty wild.
I can't wait to ride the new slab on the new rock cut. So.
Oh, it's nice. Well, and that's the great thing about the new courses that are coming in for this year. two of them are very different than anything they raced last year.
That's right.
One of them's we're actually gonna have some pedaling on course this year. I wouldn't say an insane amount, but a longer, maybe not so steep trail. And then another one we've cut in. It's the top half of it's pretty wide open. Most of our trails have been pretty narrow as far as there's basically one line and that's it. You just ride that line. But the one of our courses, definitely at least half of it is there's some room to move around on that trail.
Yep.
You're not in super tight bench cut, or of course a lot of our super tight, it's not really bench cut, it's just off camber.
Right.
But it definitely allows a little room if people that are willing to really just open it up and go. There's some time to be made. And then the other two new ones for this year, one of them, I really don't know what it's going to be like after a couple hundred bikes go down it.
Clinton, it'll be 4 new courses to the race, but 3 new courses to the park. One of the courses was not open until after we raced last year, so there'll be 4. So anyone who raced last year will get 4 new courses, and anyone who's a regular at Shepherd will get 3 new courses to be used after the event too. So adding more enduro to a bike park, we love it.
Yeah, and I think people are going to be happy with the 2-day format, because I think it's going to make it more fun, because anyone who raced last year, we had Cannonball and Mineshaft, which of course we're going to race again this year, but we're doing them on separate days, so you get to hit the big jumps at the bottom twice.
Right. Well, and we'll get full vert out of all of those courses, which is important. Anytime you can get the entire vert of the mountain, that's important, and that'll allow us to run the full length courses. One thing I wanted to add too before we forget, the city is going to be running shuttles for racers for practice days only. That'll be new this year. We'll have online links in the next 2 weeks, I believe, where folks can get it's going to be a heavily discounted ticket. Full disclosure, we all know that the uphill capacity at Shepherd is not a 6-pack chairlift, and so we're offering this. We think it'll be a nice amenity, but people need to come in with the expectation that there may be lines down there, and they may not get to ride the shuttle every time they come down to the shuttle station. But it's going to be offered, and the tickets will be at a very, very nice and fair discount because of the anticipated traffic and long lines. But that will be out there. Of course, Saturday, Sunday is pedal only.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I knew that, and I knew they were going to discount them very deeply. And to be quite honest, if you only get one trip up, maybe each day or something, for what they're going to be charging, which I don't remember exactly what it's going to be. Probably I don't want to.
That's up to the city. Yep.
I might guess. This is just a guess. It's probably going to be $10 or $15. I would easily pay $10 just to save myself one trip climbing up on pre-ride.
And you got to remember how dispersed it is. I mean, in reality, you'll have what, 1, 2. You really only have 3 courses that will come down to the shuttle side.
That's right.
Maybe 4.
That's right.
Maybe 4. So otherwise, you're going up by foot anyway. So I think it'll be a long line, but I think it's definitely an amenity to have with how spaced out everything will be on the mountain. And then of course, Clinton, if the weather is good, we're working on the DJ up top for noon to 2 on Saturday. This is a dream of ours. So let's see if we can get some.
You've never done this before. Like, you've never had this anything like where you had it.
This has been a dream of mine going back to Snowmass and EWS when everyone was lining the course in the famous Hell's Kitchen waterfall section on one of the EWSs, and I'm going, man, wouldn't it be incredible to have a DJ built into the heckler zone, and just would be awesome. And so we're gonna try this at Ironton first, and then we're working with the folks at Big Sky to do it on one of the heckler zones at Big Sky as well. So hopefully we'll have this type of system, or this type of 2-hour spectator amenity, at least at 2 of the events. Mm-hmm.
I've said this before. I'm sure someone can confirm it because it's probably going to sound like I'm making it up just for the conversation. But truly, the thing I look forward to the most when I go race in enduro is wherever the heckle zone is.
Right.
I love it. I love riding through it. I love people talking trash while I'm riding through it. Making jokes at me. And I'm going to be honest. Last year, I guess the people who follow this podcast know that I got COVID about 2 weeks before the race and couldn't race and was depressed.
Okay.
And but I went out to watch. I felt good enough to hike. I was over all my symptoms, and I'd had my quarantine time and all that stuff was over. And up on Cannonball, I was I think it was so gnarly that people weren't heckling because they almost felt bad for the riders that were crashing. They were all encouraging, which I get. Encouragement's great, but I was shouting out heckles all the way. I was at the waterfall section and even up a little higher where there was water coming down, to the point that my sister and my dad, my wife were telling me to lay off a little bit. I'm like, no, this is what we do. Like,
well, it was pretty neat. I mean, I think all the racers every racer that came down Cannonball got a true feeling of what it's like to be at the highest level of bike racing and a course lined with people. It was neat as all get up. It was a pretty cool experience. So it's times like that I wish I could race, and experience that. It's pretty cool. So
let's talk real quick about lessons learned from last year's Ironton Enduro for racers. In case we have some people listening that are that are signed up to race it and maybe didn't race last year. Now, at this point, at least most of our listeners are from the Missouri area and have a pretty good idea, if not have been there, of what Shepherd Mountain's all about. But I guess I'll start with you since you're the guest. Based on what you saw last year, give me like 3 top tips for it can either be bike setup or gear that you're bringing with you, food, what are 3 specifically like Shepherd Mountain tips that you have based on what you saw last year? Someone's getting ready.
Don't make the race weekend your first trip to Shepherd Mountain.
Definitely.
Even though you won't get to ride or know some of the courses, you can at least get a sense of what the mountain is like. I would recommend, even though we don't allow wheel changes during race day, between practice and race day, I think having a spare set of wheels is not a bad idea. In case you damage a set during practice, you can have a new set ready for race day.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
I would recommend even though it's a bike park, I don't want people to think that there's an immediate base village and support. It really has a backcountry feel. You need to pack as efficiently and as much food and water and spare tubes and tools that you think you need. Like if you were going in the backcountry, you could pedal back to headquarters and get things that you need, but on race day there just isn't the time. So you almost need to treat this a little bit like a true backcountry stage that you'd see at one of our at a Purgatory or a Bryan Head, where you don't get to come down to your car or the support area every lap.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I've got a few I think I'll add.
So those are
Um,
my three.
yeah, those are good. And these are my rules for Shepherd that I tell people who are just coming to ride. Um, Generally, I say, especially your rear tire, whatever air pressure you normally run or think you need to run, bump it up by at least 3 psi. Um, the rule for me at Shepherd, which I'm heavier than a lot of, I'm 190 pounds, hoping to be 180 by race day. But the rule for me is if my bike is feeling really good through the rocks and I'm not getting a little bit of pedal kickback just from the tire, you know that feeling where it feels like you got too much air in your tire, right?
Right.
Um, if I'm not feeling that a little bit, it's too low, and I'm gonna dent my rim, 100%. For me, I run an insert and minimum 30 psi in my rear tire because especially its powder keg gets me every time. If I'm not at least 30 psi on powder keg, I'm coming down with a dent, at
Right.
least one dent, not two or three. And yeah, it doesn't feel the best, but Shepherd is deceivingly grippy. Um, the rock that we have there, yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't get slippery, but that granite rock, even when it's wet, it's not slippery the way that like limestone gets slippery. You still have, some grip.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say don't hesitate to run uncomfortably high tire pressure, especially out back, because if you don't, all it takes is one mistake at the wrong square edge, and like you said, you could be losing a wheel for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even take a crash, it just takes one mistimed bunny hop, and if you don't have enough air in that tire, that could really put a damper on things.
Right.
So that would be one. You're right about you can't treat it where you think you're going to be able to go back to your vehicle every lap. That's for sure. Um, if you need to make a run back to your car at the bottom of the stage, depending on which stage you're at, you're probably looking at an additional minimum of 20 minutes of just pedal time, round trip, not
Yeah,
including the repair.
it's
So
funny you bring that up. I'm literally working on the start list right now with our new event director. Literally, I have an email in the background of Skype here, figuring out the transition times. we
yeah, I mean it's a hoof up that thing, no
it
matter
is.
which way. Although the city has done, it's probably be muddy today, but it had dried out a lot. Last weekend I went up. The city has cleared it's an old road. It's been there for a long time, but some of our stages go off a different side of the mountain that we haven't even touched
Mm-hmm.
just now, and we're going to use an old road that they had there as a transition, and they've actually cleared it out pretty wide, and the bottom of it's a little steep, maybe for 150 vertical feet, but after that, it's not a bad ride all the way to the top. I mean, I was able to pedal it all the way to the top, and I had probably ridden 8 days in a row somewhere up to that point, so my legs weren't exactly fresh,
Oh, great.
and
Oh,
I was okay with it. So that just kind of, it's nice. It opens up a whole other side of things.
yeah, it's awesome using all the sides of the mountain. I can't wait. We just need some dry weather.
Yeah. My second tip would be if you've got a bike with adjustable geo, um, be mindful of your bottom bracket setting. It might be worth it to test out a higher setting. Um, I'm giving away, I guess I'm giving away secrets to my competition, but Shepherd does have a lot of steeps, but I wouldn't consider it somewhere that's got a ton of high speed. And so, you know, I don't know that you necessarily need like the lowest, slackest bike possible to go fast. Um, I think there's something to be said for bottom back bracket and pedal clearance.
Yep.
So, maybe consider running a higher just to save yourself some trouble. It's a lot of chunky rock out there.
Yeah.
I mean, that is Shepherd Mountain. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
And then, yeah, I just want to reiterate, I had a buddy from Houston message me on Instagram a week or two ago asking, he's coming to race, and he said, hey, how early do you think I need to get there? Are the trails pretty? I think his wording was, I don't know what this guy's doing here. Sorry, everybody. There was a state park ranger with his lights on at a random highway nowhere near a park, and can't figure out what he's wanting people to do. Anyway, he asked me, he's like, are the trails pretty straightforward? Can I pretty much show up and race? And I'm like, no.
No.
I raced most all the races they do in Texas. I've raced a lot of places in Arkansas and places I know he's been. And I was telling him, like, if you can at all possibly get up here before race weekend, you need to do it. You need to come get a feel for what it's really going to be like, because it's just for someone coming from the flatlands, and there's some good riding in Texas. I mean, Texas Hill Country's got some really good stuff, but it's still generally about half the elevation at most, and it's nowhere near as chunky. They have a lot of loose rock out there. Same in Arkansas, but the massive, the bowling ball size, but cube-shaped granite rocks you just don't find that a lot of places, and definitely not around.
And it's nonstop. It's amazing when you do powder keg, you get to the bottom and you are flat out exhausted, and it's 650.
You barely took a pedal stroke. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
you pedal a few cranks at the top, a few cranks across the big open slab, and then that's it.
That's it.
And you're completely.
It's unbelievable that this type of terrain and courses exist here. It's just amazing. I said it last year. I say it this year. I say it every time I'm down there. You guys just did something very, very special there. It's awesome. So, and the city has embraced it. The way they attacked the shuttle issues when they first opened last year and made the revisions. I mean, you can go there now and buy a ticket on a weekend and get as many laps as there is no issue. It is efficient.
Yeah.
It is fun. It's just kudos to the city, to you, and everybody who's been involved and helped bring us here for the second year. We're
once they got the shuttle road revised and fixed up, I mean, last summer, all summer long, I did not meet one person, because a lot of times I'd show up later in the day just because, I'm local, so I don't feel the need to always be down there right when it opens and stuff. And I did not meet one person last summer who started riding before 10 a.m. and went all the way to closing time.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Exactly.
Nobody made it long. Most people were leaving at 1 p.m. They were done. Like, they were, got all the laps they wanted, tired, going home.
Yep. It's fantastic.
So let's where do I want to? Oh, my third tip. Sorry, I just want to say, I'm begging people, begging you, do not hesitate. It's absolutely worth it if you need to slide them down to your ankles so you don't get hot. If you need to take your elbow pads off, put them in your pockets while you're climbing up. Do not hesitate to wear body armor. It is impossible to crash at Shepherd Mountain without landing on a granite rock of some kind. You can't do it. You cannot crash and just land in the dirt. You can't do it. If you fall, you're gonna land. Some part of your body is gonna smack a rock. So if you've got, bring the knee pads, bring the elbow pads. I'm wearing a full-blown chest protector, with the thick thing in the back, the extra armor in the back side of it. I'm wearing it, but, both days, full face helmet, the whole bit, just because, yeah, I'm probably carrying an extra 2 or 3 pounds up the hill, but it's absolutely worth it. Um, one crash and landing your elbow straight on a rock with no padding you're going to lose more time trying to tough it out the rest of the day than whatever small fraction of energy it's costing you to put a couple elbow pads in your pocket or strap them to your bike and head back up the hill.
Yeah. Yeah. You want a quick true story from last year? So,
yeah, go for it.
So on that note, I've been doing this a long time, and a lot of times in Colorado and out west, you'll get to the gnarliest stuff you're riding on these hiking trails are big pedal days. And so I would do it with, maybe I would have knee pads, but always in a normal half shell, right?
Right.
This stuff, and people would look at me like I'm nuts. And so even Shepherd Mountain, a lot of times I would just be out there. I'd ride up and ride down, and I was used to riding stuff like that with minimal gear. And then I go to Purgatory, and I'm coming down Purgatory, and on this trail called the Links, one of our courses, and I get to this section of trail, and I have never seen anything so steep and crazy in my life. It was like I'm standing up there going, what am I doing? I walk my bike somehow around and down the section. I go straight to registration. I tell Tony to give me a few minutes. I get on the computer and I order a full face helmet, and I travel everywhere with my full face helmet. I should plug POC, which is a new one of our new sponsors. So our POC full face helmet and chest protector, chest protector, elbow pads, knee pads, and now I fly with all of that. And oh my goodness!
Well,
what a difference it makes in confidence, number one. But I had to break that mold where I was used to just doing this stuff without all that gear on, and all of a sudden, it affected how I was riding and how well I was riding, and all of a sudden I put it all on, and your confidence comes back, because I actually got scared.
There's the bike technology has changed so much, and the way we ride, and then especially with enduro, we're doing motorcycle speed things on our bicycles.
True.
Like I'm not saying it's quite as fast, obviously, but there's definitely times where we're doing the exact same speed and risk level type stuff as GNCC or Hare Scramble or hard enduro racers do on motorcycles in sections. It doesn't make if you saw a guy doing that Red Bull hard enduro or something in a half shell helmet, and in tennis shoes and no knee pads, you would think he was out of his mind. And I know it's not exactly the same, but there's definitely times where I could not go down the runs at Shepherd Mountain faster on my dirt bike than I do a bicycle.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Like there's no way. And so it doesn't make sense to me to go out there with nothing, And you're definitely right about the confidence. I was riding at I'm actually going to do another podcast soon on some secret little bike park that's being built right now that I had no idea about until about 2 weeks ago. And I went and test rode somewhere. Can't say where, but it's not big. It's maybe 120 foot of very similar size to like Steelville. But I had forgotten my knee pads at home, and there's some loose off camber, and I was terrified.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, I was tiptoeing through this stuff, but I'm clipped in. It's super loose and off camber, and I felt naked on that bike without my knee and elbow pads. So anyway, So tell me, can you, if you're willing to, I don't know if you can you at least discuss maybe who signed up in the pro class, like what you know,
I
at least as far
I
as paper goes, who we're
I
looking forward to?
I cannot do that. I cannot do that. It's something that we don't publish. The pros and their likeness. It's I can tell you teams that are coming. Of course, we have Big Mountain Enduro presented by Specialized Bikes. So let me start this by saying the expo area and team area is going to be. I'm going to go on a limb and say it's going to be 3 times the size of last year. We're going to have the Missouri Enduro Series sponsors and guests. We're going to have obviously our BME sponsors and teams, and the city has quite a few vendors and sponsors as well. It's going to be an amazing scene down there by the courthouse. But of course, Specialized, being our title sponsor, will be there with their team. You can take some guesses of who that includes.
Yeah,
Of course,
hard to figure out.
of course, coming back will be and defending will be Team Yeti, and we're anticipating a great turnout from Yeti. I know we have commitments from Intense, Cannondale, Ferrazzi,
Fazari.
Sorry, apologies. Thank you.
Well, I for sure a lot of these guys I follow, like basically all of them on Instagram, and have even made some comments. And there's one pro, I won't say who, but according to his comment, he's already down there.
Well,
I told him sorry for the weather, but
I don't know. We don't talk. We know we get a lot of we know a lot of teams will stop at Shepherd on their way back from Winrock, which was just was a week ago. So,
right.
But hey, what's wrong with that? We encourage, people to go visit all of our bike parks. Before the event, after the event. All these places are. It's not easy to help us run our races. It takes a lot of partners, and they want you to come visit. We want you to visit Shepherd off a non-race weekend. We want you to go to Purgatory and see what they've built at Purgatory in Durango. Oh my goodness. And Big Sky, of course, just keeps upping the game. And Brian Head, Utah, what an amazing surprise that was. I pogoed off my head. I cleared one of the sections, and I couldn't make the right turn, and the catch berm caught me, and I went right over the bars and pogoed right off my new full face. So good thing I had it. And then I've never been to Bend. Brandon visited Bend, but we're ecstatic, and we have more backcountry stages. We want you to visit these areas and take it all in, and that's a lot of the idea. So I'm happy to see people visiting on their way back from Winrock, and to our friends who are out west and they come back to visit family back on the east. Stop at Shepherd, check it out, even and the great riding in Arkansas, and you're coming back this way. Stop and see what it's all about. It's really good stuff. So.
Do any of those races have spots left? What races have some spots left?
So we have very few spots left for Ironton, and let me preface that by saying Ironton. The reason we aren't sold out at Ironton is because we learned last year we could push the numbers, and since we don't have any real restrictions and capacity issues at Ironton, we're able to push the numbers a little bit. So while I'm saying it's not sold out yet, but it's close, it's still more people than last year because we had a cap last year, if you remember,
Right.
a self-imposed cap. This year, we were able to realize that we could run more. Purgatory, Big Sky is sold out. Purgatory is sold out. Brian Head may be sold out by now. It may have 5 or 10 spots left, maybe. And then, of course, Ben sold out. So that's where we're at. We have a lot of people coming to 5 races for the Big Mountain Enduro presented by Specialized.
Right on.
So
hey, real quick,
if you want to race another race, I would definitely recommend signing up for Ironton right away, and Brian Head, Utah, right away. But yeah, the rest, if you're interested, you can follow some of the Facebook or Instagrams. You can follow Colorado Enduro mountain bike page. You'll see transfers and requests to transfers come up there often. So, you can it is possible to get last minute entries.
Gotcha. Okay. Hey, little off topic. Speaking of Specialized,
Mm-hmm.
I talked you in to getting a Stumpy Evo.
You did?
Was that the best decision you've made this year, or just one of the best?
One of the best. Because if I say the best, I might forget something with my family or so I'm gonna say one of the best, so I don't forget anything. It's an amazing bike. I've always gone with the most enduro version of a bike's platform, so I was a little nervous, but my goodness, great example is this the MES race coming this weekend, right, at Greensfelder. Riding Chubb and Shepard, I've been riding the Evo on the -1 but high BB setting, which is a long wheelbase. And when I tried to ride it at Greensfelder, it was just too much. So I went to a neutral setting, shortened the wheelbase, and what a difference! I mean, the way you literally get 4 bikes in one. Literally,
yeah.
four bikes in one on that Evo platform, and they really just hit it out of the ballpark. I've never been more impressed with a bike. Just wow, good for Specialized, good for them. It's awesome.
It's a good one. I've settled on neutral head cup and low bottom bracket, which is really kind of makes it a longer chainstay by like 5 mils. But I have found on that bike, I don't run nearly the sag percentage that I have on other bikes.
Mm-hmm.
It still feels really good. So I feel like I can get away with that low bottom bracket setting because when I'm pedaling, it's not sinking down very deep. So it's keeping the bottom bracket closer to where it's at without a rider on the bike. Whereas like I was on my Trek, I had to run 33% sag on that thing to make it feel right. And so, I'd say I'm very similar in where maybe that thing settles, but I actually went back a little steeper myself.
Well,
we could get into it for a long time, but I'm sure nobody wants to hear all the
one thing I wanted to add was that the traction. On a lot of my older bikes, I needed to run, and I don't weigh a lot, so I need to run really low PSI just to get the contact patch. And so I've always run. People are shocked at the PSI I run, and I go, I have to do it. I just don't have the weight and the power to put into the corner to get that tire to do what I needed to do. So I would run low PSI. What I noticed with the Specialized is the traction, and I'm able to maintain traction and the cornering, and now I'm running 3 PSI more. So now I'm getting that benefit of a faster rolling tire, less chance of a flat, all of that fun stuff you get with a little higher PSI, all because of the traction I'm feeling. And it was I instantly noticed the traction riding Chubb Trail. I can't say enough good things about the bike. They really did a great job. So
I'm stoked on mine. I love it.
Yeah. I was a little nervous of the Fox of the what was it, the Float X. I thought the X2 might have been a better shock for this bike, but nope.
Yeah, needed. I had an X2 on my last bike. I would like to. I see. I have the 2021, so I still have the older DPX2,
Okay.
um, which is pretty good. I'd like to have the Float X. I think it'd be a little better once on like bigger hits. I think it's got the same bottom out bumper as the Float X2, so it might take the edge off the hard landings
Mhm.
when you're bottom out. But other than that, I mean, let's put it this way. At this point, I don't feel like it would make me go any faster down the runs, um, and worth spend the money on it.
Well, and you know what
I,
and I say 4 bikes in one also, and one thing that I loved is I'm not a jumper, right? It's just something I never really did a whole lot of in my day, and so to be able to shorten that wheelbase and get something that's a little more confident when I go and do the jump lines, I mean to finally clear those jumps at the bottom of Shepherd, that was really made me feel good, you know.
yeah,
So anyway, that's enough about that. What else? What else do
we
you
can
have?
wrap it up. I was gonna say we can wrap it up here. If you've got anything else to add, I will just say mentioning those jumps. People, if it's your first time to Shepherd, look at them before you just send it. I witnessed a rider last year overjump the first step down into the bottom line.
Yep.
She went it all the way to flat, and then took a hard right off the next jump face, and basically dropped about 8 vertical feet to flat off the trail and then into a tree. Tough as nails. She got up and raced the next day, but it was terrifying. So you need to look at that stuff because you don't want to do that.
And
Um,
also a reminder that the Cannon jump is not a teeter totter.
it is not a teeter totter. It is a gap double,
Yeah,
and
that
you
one's
need to hit
above
it.
that one's above my pay grade.
I People ask me how fast they need to hit it all the time, and I tell them I don't know about you, but I hit it as fast as I can every time. And usually I clear the top of the landing by 3 or 4 feet with my back tire. I send it a little deep. But I kid you not, I take that turn as fast as I can,
Mm.
and I crank about as many times as I can. Uh, and I don't, have to bunny hop off the lip and really pull. I just kind of soak it up and sail off of it. But
Mm.
I hit it. I'm not exaggerating. I hit that jump as fast as I can every time.
Well, anytime you can go somewhere and have a place that just always makes you have that next level of you got to think at Shepherd Mountain. You there's stuff that you might leave and not ride that day. That's all you ask. That's all you can ask for in a bike park. Is there's stuff. It's funny. I used to ride Keystone all the time, and there's stuff there that I would do, like this really narrow log drop on a trail called I think it's called Serenity, and people be like, "Wow, you do that?" And I go, "But I won't go do that big jump kicker on over by Jamrock, and it's just how things look to your eye. But it's okay to leave stuff on the table, and that's what's so great about Shepherd, is to have something that has all the different skill levels covered in one location, and you can go have a great day there on trolley tracks and element 26 and ride beginner intermediate stuff, and you can go really scare yourself too on some of the other trails, and it's just great. Kudos. Places
All
amazing.
right, man. Well, I will let you go, and I guess we'll see you out there. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks for the support of Big Mountain Enduro, and presented by Specialized Bikes, and we can't wait to see you all down in a little over a month. No, wait. Yeah, a little over a month.
Coming up fast.
Thanks, Clinton.
No problem.